Hey there. How's it going? Angela Wolf here, and we are in, I'm not even sure what stage of the bag. I can't remember if it's 4 or 5 or 6, but we still have like 3 more to go. So welcome everyone. Say hi. Angela Wolf here. Make sure my mic is on. It's been a little crazy in here today. Crazy in the studio. So just out of curiosity, how's your bag coming and how was your weekend? 2 questions. I see YouTube is rolling in way before Facebook, so great to see you all. Great to see you all. So you all know, you might have seen all the beautiful brother machines in my studio. Last week we had an in-person class. We made some gorgeous jackets. So I got to the office this morning ready for our sew along, and I was like, uh-oh, I gotta find my bag. Fortunately, I put all the pieces inside of a basket, and I even remembered where the basket is. So high five to that one. All right, so I see, now we've got Facebook joining us. Thanks, Esther, for always being there on that one. And welcome, everyone. No, Zena, I don't have another class this week. It's in 2 weeks is the next jacket class. Yeah, I always schedule those usually every other week or maybe 2 weeks in between so we could sew our bag. So I saw a lot of your photos online, which I love. So someone asked, where can you find all the replays for this? Well, you have 3 options. You can either go to Brother Sew's Facebook page and scroll through their videos and watch the replays there, or you can go to Brother Sew's YouTube page and click on live. It's under the live section, not just the general videos, and watch all the replays there. Or I popped them all into my blog. If you go to angelawolf.com, scroll down until you find the bag picture, click on that, and it'll take you right to all the replays. And it also has links to the future shows. So today we have to finish the other side of our bag. This one's already finished, but I need to put the pocket on the other side of the bag. And guess what I did? I totally screwed up. I did, yeah. So I had a class, in-person class, and I was trying to put everything away, and I thought the embroidery was finished. You know, the nice, beautiful line that I did? So I have to come up with a save. I think I figured it out. I'm going to use the Art Spira app. I'm going to take a photo of something really cool and either use, I'm not sure. I might use vinyl or maybe some rhinestones. I'm thinking of using maybe the rhinestone kit with Scan and Cut. So I've got all these different options in my head. It's going to have to do with vinyl though, because I got to sew the other side of my bag or it's never going to get put together. Right. All right. So I'm going to take you over to the table. Today, this is what we have. Oh, good idea, Darlene. We're going to sew the other side of our bag with the straps. We're going to start to put the bag together. Now, this is kind of the more, I would say, more work than the whole project put together. And then in our next session, we'll finish putting the bag together. We'll put the zipper on. And the sew along has been so much fun that we're going to do a bonus lesson as well, making a little zippered bag for your money or credit cards or lip gloss. Sound good? All right, so I'm looking for my glasses. I can tell it's one of those days. So this will be like the day that you don't want to do embroidery because I'm sure I'll run out of embroidery thread, things like that, or bobbin thread. Oh, you got your fabric finally. Awesome, Amanda. All right, well, let's get rolling. I won't keep you any longer. Let's get sewing. You can always come back and watch a replay. And don't forget, if you're loving the sew along, be sure to like these posts and leave your comments because brother loves to see that. All right, take this down so you can see. Well, there's my bag. It doesn't look too bad over there. And I'll show you my big mistake. You won't believe it. Can you guess what I did? Can you just take like one small guess? Let me squeeze back here to my table. I'm kind of moving my studio back to normal for a couple days. So this is what we're doing. There's the bag. Mine's already getting filthy. I carry it everywhere. I even carried it this weekend. The back looks great. So the one that we're working on now, I haven't even put my jewelry on yet today. How do you like that? So last week we sewed this side of the strap. I showed you how to do the sideways sewing. We still need to sew this side of the strap. And I've already gone ahead and sewn for the second side. I've already sewn the top part of the straps. If you missed that in last week's episode, you can go back and watch it. So I've already sewn that. Now I just need to attach it to the bag. But here's my big mistake. Remember when I embroidered this and we were chatting and I skipped ahead to show you how to move around your designs? I didn't embroider this section here. I already took everything out of the hoop. And so I'm going to just make it work. Now, yes, I could go back to the machine and with some very careful maneuvering, I could put this other panel there. I don't feel like it. So I need to know your ideas. I'm going to go ahead and sew the bag together, but I'm going to add something here. So I'm thinking rhinestones from the rhinestone kit on the Scan and Cut, or I'm going to go look in the Artspira app and see if I can find something for vinyl, like a good vinyl cut that I could just stick right to here. But that's going on at the end, because I'm just going to go ahead and sew this bag together. Okay, so just like the other one, I'm going to trim I have to trim the pocket to be the same width as this. Let's see what we have here. Looks like I already marked that. See what happens when you're gone for a whole week. So last week you were watching the show, but that was all pre-recorded because of my class. So let's go ahead and make sure this is straight. There we go. And do the other side. Do you think we need any decoration up at the top? You think this is fine? I mean, I'm judging what you guys say too, because you're making the same bag. Miss that just a little bit here. Okay. I'll put some bling here. Maybe I'll add some other vinyl up here and down here just to make it all match. This is the other side of the bag anyway, so. All right, make sure I have all of this marked correctly. So the top of the pocket goes here. I think you remember how to do this. This is pocket number 2. Tuck this under. I'll just flip this back. Throw a couple pins in there. So today I'm going to be using the Stillaire to sew with. For those of you that have the Stillaire, you can follow along. So once that's there, how's the pocket looking? That looks great. You remember how to do this? Let's go to the machine, sew across here, flip this up, and you'll do one more stitch to encompass that seam allowance, which will end up looking like this. And then the last thing we need to do is sew on our straps. And then we're going to sew the bottom of the bag together, but we want to finish the edges where it looks really nice. So if you look closely, first of all, did I empty my bag? Oh, I did. So look closely at the bottom of this bag. See in there? The bottom edge? Doesn't that look so nice? I don't want any raw, unfinished edges. So we'll do that today as well. And then we need to start piecing together our sides and put our bag together. Okay, see you at the machine. Now I really am live today. So if you have questions on this or anything else from the last couple weeks, I will make sure I can answer those for you. So any questions for me, throw them in here. Oh, Patty, they do? Artspira has a whale or a dolphin. Oh, it has a fish. Oh, a shark would be really good, but a fish is okay. All right, I'm gonna go in there. I just upgraded my phone and got a new phone, and first app I downloaded, Artspira, of course. Do you know what the second and the third app was I downloaded? Just take a guess. Okay, I'll give you a hint. It's brother related. It works with the Stillaire. Oh, that's kind of a big guess, right? I did not put bias tape on top of the pocket. I did with the other one. This one I'm just going to leave as a fold. a folded edge because I'll add some bling to it. Oh, you got it. Stitch Monitor. And what's the third app? You got it. You got it. Hey, Angie. Okay, so let's go back over here to the sewing machine. Ooh, Amanda has fabric with unicorns. That's kind of cool. Oh my gosh, my nieces would love that. I've already had requests from the entire family that they want me to make this bag for them for Christmas. So I guess my gift my gift session is ready to go. All right, let's go this way. Again, I'm just using I'm using the Stellaire. You can see here, the new Stellaire 2 XJ2. So this is a sewing or embroidery. I don't have it embedded in the table right now because when I start to sew the bag, I'll pull this side off so I can get into those corners easier, in case you're wondering. There you go. Stitch length of 3.0 going through all these layers. Again, if you have any issues sewing through all these layers, you know what you need to do. Grab your move it foot. Pretty good. Now take the pocket and fold it up. You can do a pressing on there if you want to. I'm just making sure it's about the same height. I'm just going to sew it. That's pretty good. All right, so my first line is going to be here. Just trying to keep with the decorations. I'm also using a lighter thread now, so I can kind of combine the darker thread and the lighter thread. I thought that would look cool on here. I know, it's so weird. I forgot all my jewelry today. I've been working and cleaning, and I just completely forgot. This looks nice. So let's double check. There's the stitching. Did we stitch high enough to get rid of? Oh, I've got just a little bit of seam allowance right there. Let's do one more row of stitching, about 1/8 of an inch away from the last one. Looking good. Securing the pocket in place, and let's do it to the other side. How's it look? Fantastic. All right, so grab your other strap, and hopefully you've already sewn your other side. I left mine just in case you guys had questions. All right, so again, you have to go back, and I'm not going to teach how to do the whole strap like last time, but the whole top section here, you've already stitched and finished, folded the edge over because this is your strap that everybody will see. And then down here, that's not the same. So kind of line this up. And I cut my straps a little bit longer. I will trim off the excess at the bottom when I'm finished. So let's see here. I've got a lot of little, I should say, threads to cut. But just let me compare. I want to make sure that my strap, so I have everything secured up to the top. I better mark this with chalk so you can see it. Meet you back at the table real quick. Okay, so I could do this on the sewing machine, but if I don't have both sides even, I will be really annoyed with myself. So here is the top of the strap. Remember, we marked that in the last one. How far down? If I'm lucky, it's about 2 inches. Oh, it is, because I've got my 2-inch strip. It's my lucky day. There you go. Just some chalk to mark that. So I know that the top of my strap will be sewn right there. I want my finished edges about there. Go down just a little bit here. Just throw a few pins in the middle. Again, the edge of my strap is lining up along my previous chalk mark. We did this in lesson 1, I believe. If you need to go back and watch that. And then this also covers up the edge of the pocket. So I need to find a nice big fish going right across here out of vinyl. Well, I could also do a patch, I suppose, but this is all going to be sewn together. So a patch should be a little complicated when I'm finished. That's why you piece everything together as you're sewing it. Like as you're sewing, that's why we're layering, so we don't have to try to squeeze in there and embroider something. Again, when you put your strap on, make sure it's not twisted. She's not twisted at all. And I'll give myself just a little chalk guide here. That will be the top of my bag. And we're using the Stillaire today, so we can still use that same sewing sideways that I used on the Luminaire. And then I have this last strap here to sew. I saw somebody saying, didn't you put a strap at the top of your pocket? I did on this one. I did here and here. This pocket I'm doing totally different because you won't see both sides at the same time anyways. And I wanted to add a little bit of bling up here, but it's a folded edge, so I don't really need to do anything up there if I don't want to. Make sense? All right, take both of your straps and bring them back to the machine. I'll still be using a 3.0 stitch length. So if any of you have questions on that, my straps are only 36 inches long. What's my workaround? Oh, Cindy. Your workaround is, instead of having your straps go all the way to the bottom, end them someplace else. Maybe end them below the pocket. They don't have to go to the bottom. It's just part of the design. So you could do the same thing for the straps. You just need to make sure there's a pretty good section that's sewn onto the bag to give it that sturdiness. Make sense? So that was Cindy. That was this question here. Any other question? Hey, Barbara. Great to see you. Patty, you missed last week's show. Well, quilt show sounds kind of fun. Okay, anything else? Oh, I do too. I do too. Are you cloning yourself so you get all done? I'm working on it, Patty. I'm working on it. I'm not sure if the clone is in the Art Spirit app, but boy, wouldn't that be a bonus, huh? Okay, let's go back to the sewing machine here. So right before the live show, I thought my dispenser was dispensing a nice some hot water for some hot tea. Well, I didn't have enough water in there, and guess what? It's cold. It's really gross. Don't worry, I won't make you wait while I go get hot tea, but boy, it would sure taste good. So somebody else drink some nice hot tea for me, will you? Okay, I'm gonna just turn this just a little bit so I can squeeze in here. You never know if I'm sewing standing up, sitting down, all over the place. So, I'll just stitch going down for now. both rows, stitch length of 3.0. Let's see. My first stitch is right on the edge. Remember, we did 4 stitches here. So I'm going to just blow through this and sew as fast as I can without over the camera straight, because you've already seen this entire section in the last live show. And again, if you have any issues stitching through all these layers, grab your move it foot. I wonder what I have my pedal set up as. I'm using my foot pedal where I can set it up. I should set it up for cutting thread. Let's see. If I push on the back, oh, that one's for back stitch. Which I really don't need to do at the bottom. Oh, yes. If you're wondering what on earth I'm talking about, look down here. This foot pedal right here. I'm wearing really cute tennis shoes today. So when I push here, it sews. When I push back here, it does a back stitch. And when I push on this one, it's cutting the thread. In case you're like, what in the world is she talking about? Now you know. Bring it back over. And if you haven't ever tried that before, check your machine. You can do this on the Luminaire and now on the new Still Air. So there's my back stitch. So it's pretty cool because you can basically sew hands-free. Well, I'm not hands-free. I just don't have to take my hands away from the fabric. Make sense? I should put it for the presser foot up, shouldn't I? Can we have 3? That'd be fun. All right, now we need to go down one more time. So whatever color thread you're using for this, I switched up to a lighter color. You want it to look nice on the back side because you will see inside the bag, and kind of like a lining. You want it to look just as nice as the outside. All right, we'll go ahead and finish these last 2 rows, and then we'll do our nice little box sewing sideways. I've got my end foot here. I was thinking this bag, if I did the measurements and made it smaller, would be really cute with, put that up. It would be cute as a smaller bag, more like a lunchbox type thing. Throwing in some fruit, or if you're at the grocery store, you do the back stitch. There we go. There we go. Now I have it programmed correctly. And we did 2 rows of stitches right on each edge, and then one just in just a smidge. You probably want to know what is a smidge. Oh, about 1/8 of an inch. So how many of you, by the way, are using the Still Air? Because one thing I did not show you on here. Let's see. You can just barely see. This one does still have a laser light as well. You can see it on my finger there, really close. Oops. So I could line up the laser light as well on here. Let's see, where do I want that? Maybe to the left. we go. If I line it up, you can just barely see it, but I can see it really well. If I line it up with that previous stitch line or the edge, it doesn't matter. There's a back stitch. Now you can see it. See it right here? Okay, 2 rows done. We have one more row on our last bag that we did last week. I sure hope I picked the same color for this side, or this is really going to be an interesting looking bag. Oh, we'll just add more vinyl. I'm sure Art Spirit is going to have something good in there. I was thinking, I don't have quite enough of this fabric to make a whole nother bag, but I really would like to make a coordinating zipper pouch. So can you guess what I'm going to use to design my own fabric? I'm pretty sure if any of you watched all of the new products Brother came out with, you're going to guess this one pretty darn quickly. I can take a picture of this fabric, and what will it do? I'm pretty sure you'll figure that one out, but that's going to be in a future lesson coming up, so stay tuned. Yeah, if you guessed print moto, you got it. You got it. All right, I'm going to turn the laser light off. I don't need it right here. I'll just sew. All right, this is all 4 of our straps. There's the back stitch. So this didn't take long. I think the straps, the longest part was just pressing. So Cindy, when you asked about your straps aren't quite long enough, that's no problem. So you would just do the same thing we did here. Maybe you could get it to the bottom of your pocket. You would just have to finish the edges, so tuck it under so it would match the pocket, if that makes sense. All right, so go ahead and change your foot to the end foot. Now, I know some of you still have the Dream Machine. So yes, this will work on the Dream Machine too. I can't remember. Do you remember if it worked on the Dreamweaver as well for our little box that we're trying to do? All right, so my needle's in the down position. Just take a look over here. Let me bring this up a little bit. I've got it on wheels today so you can see everything, maybe. Without getting seasick? All right. Wowzer, did you guys hear that truck? All right, let's click on utility stitch. We're back here. Scroll down here, it's number 5. So on the Luminaire, it was up here, and on the Stellaire, it's right here. Right there. So first we want to go sideways. You can do a zigzag stitch sideways or just stitch. And then as I move these, you'll see I'm going to do this one, and then that one, and then this, and that. And it shows you right on the screen, it's going to sew in that direction. My gosh, this is one of my favorite things. So bring it back over so you can watch the sewing. Now I will stand up sewing. You never know what's going to happen over here. Okay. You know, we've been sewing jackets all week. I didn't even check. So, Susie, you were using this machine. She loved it. I didn't even check to see what needle you were using. So, thankfully, I haven't broken a needle. But sometimes she was sewing a faux suede for the whole week. And sometimes after sewing that, I'll change the needles just because, you know, that's a lot of thickness to go through. If you're on my Instagram, you'll probably see photos of everybody's jackets. They turned out super cute. Okay, now back, and now let's go this way. One more. And now sideways this way. Now we're going to go this way. I know, I could just do this all day. It's so much fun to watch. And what an easy way to box your jacket. And then I'm using the stay stitch just to secure that stitch. That looks great. That really looks nice. This one looks a little different. Nobody's going to notice. As long as my strap is good. All right, so let's go to this side. Same thing. I've got a lot of threads to trim. Which I will do later. I'll just get some of the main ones out to make sure I don't accidentally stitch over them, right? Okay, to the edge. First, we're going to go to the right. And now down, diagonal. To the right. Oops, I almost did the zigzag. One more stitch. One more. Come on. There we go. Now back. Oops. I just want to make sure you're paying attention. Do the stay stitch. All right, last one. We'll go to the right. This would work really nice if you had like a grosgrain ribbon too. You could do this to secure it at the top. It just makes it a little sturdier. So far, I have carried a lot of stuff in this bag. Last week was a bunch of fresh peaches that Sharon brought, and a lot of fresh fruit and vegetables. So this just gives it a little bit more security. I've got a lot of threads to cut here, but a little more security. See what it looks like on the back side. Look at how nice that looks on the back. Okay, so we're getting closer. So the next step is going to be to sew our bottom of our bag together. I will take your questions and meet you at the cutting table. All right, any questions for me? Oh, someone asked about Fabric to Fashion. It's not going to air probably till the end of October, beginning of November. Trust me, as soon as it does, you will know. You'll be the first to know. All right, anything else? Oh, thanks, Donna. You know, she said the sleeves are beautiful. Totally a squirrel moment, but I accidentally ripped a little piece here. So I'm thinking I'm going to tear these off and just have a short sleeve. Maybe we'll do that on air tomorrow on my live show, 1:30. because I could just rip them here, but that would be a little bit, I'd like to use this for something else. And if I rip wrong, yeah, behind the scenes tomorrow or at the end of the show if I get really annoyed with them. All right, any other questions for me? Oh, nice. Okay, I don't see. Are there any copyright issues when you copy existing fabric to print? Well, Joanna, I'm not an attorney, so I don't know. I know that you cannot sell it. I mean, you wouldn't be able if you're copying somebody else's fabric, but if you're using it for yourself, I wouldn't have a problem with that, but I'm not an attorney, so I can't give you an official answer on that. Oh, good, Sandra, you have one. Well, you're gonna love that episode. Definitely. You guys all got it. You got it. You got it. Oh, thanks. And Patty loves her still air. All right, any last questions before we go sew this bag together? I know it's only 1 month away. Check with Julie. All right, we'll check with Julie. My sister's an attorney. You all know that. Okay. Hey, Janet. Great to see you. Okay, let's go back to the cutting table and I'll show you how we're going to start sewing this bag together. So the first thing I want to do is trim off any excess strap at the bottom. So trim that off. Okay. Doesn't that look wonderful? Now trim this side off. Take your two outside pieces and turn them right side together. And either use pins or clips, but you want to make sure that your sides are lined up. You'll stitch right across here with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. So I'll just throw a couple pins to hold this in place. Okay, back to the sewing machine. Now this is going through a lot of layers. If I find the fabric shifting at all, I will switch to the move it foot. All right, bring this back down so I can sew sitting down for a moment. Take off the end foot. I'm just going to use the standard J foot and switch to just a straight stitch 3.0. And I prefer to have my needle in the center position, but of course that's always a preference. Your personal preference is fine. Do not start right at the very edge of the fabric. I'm starting in just a little bit. I'll do a couple stitches and then a back stitch. And then I'll do the back stitches. Just because you've already started sewing, you don't have to worry about any of that fabric getting stuck. Although it's easier to remove the needle plate now, but it's still not a fun, you don't want to get your fabric stuck in there. You definitely need to do a back stitch at these ends here. You don't want those to come apart, so make sure that's nice and secure. Now you won't see this part because I don't have a camera on the ironing board. I'm pressing this open and then I'll meet you at the cutting table. You can hear the sound effects though, right? All right, pressing it open. I'm using the clapper to secure this open. And now I will meet you back at the table. And you can use either fabrics for this as far as the solid color or the printed. I'm going to use the same color that's on the inside here. So, voila, pressed open. So from the right side, it looks like this. That's pretty close. It looks like I'm off just a smidge as far as my width, but who's going to look at the bottom of my bag except for you? So back to this side. I want to cover this up. It's a little thick to put through the serger. Of course, it would go through the airflow serger with no problem, but I want to cover this up. It's just kind of ugly. So I have a strip of fabric here cut about 2 inches wider. It could be the exact if you want to, but I just had this laying around. And it is, I think it's 2 inches wide, 2.5 inches wide. So 2.5 inches wide, and then the length of the bottom of your bag plus a little bit more. I just like to have the excess. I'll end up cutting that off. Basically, what you're going to do is I've pressed in the sides. Just kind of, it's going to cover up those ugly seams with all that fabric. Now, this is going to be sewing through a lot of fabric, if you know what I mean. Let's line this up. Just trying to make it a little centered on this. I guess I'll just pin it in the center. Wouldn't that be smarter? Okay, and here. So it's covering up both seam allowances. Go to the machine and run 1 row of stitching along this folded edge and 1 row along this folded edge. Oops, I forgot to bring you with me. Sorry. Oh, a doggy vest? Are you guys talking about matching animal clothes to go with this bag? Well, I'd have to have a squirrel bag because I don't foresee Win getting another cat anytime soon. I love cats, so does he, but we're both allergic. So when our last cat lasted 26 years or whatever, I think I have to stick to the squirrels. I tried fish, that didn't work out well. No, like real fish, like as in goldfish. Not the ones I catch, not salmon on the lake. Remember the betta fish? Do you guys, it depends how long you've been watching my live shows, but I had a couple really cool betta fish, leather and lace, weren't they? And then we had a third one, silk. We had 3 of them, silk, leather, and lace. I gave them to Terry because he had a tendency to feed them more than I did. All right, we're getting to the bottom of this edge. Again, you're going through a lot of layers of fabric. So this is when I mentioned in the instructions to use a denim jean needle. It's just a little bit heavier duty needle. So if you have any issues or if you break a needle, like I said, I don't know what needle I'm using in here right now, but it must be something sturdy. If Susie was sewing faux suede last week. All right, looking good. So that looks pretty good. And then from the right side, just 2 rows of stitching. Okay, back to the table. We need to work on the side panels now. So the side panels, we want to finish the top edges. And you can do this using self fabric like I have here. So I could cut another strip of this fabric if I want to. Right now I'm trimming this to be the same width as the bag. It's just easier to have it a little longer than to try to make sure that everything is sewing absolutely perfectly if you lined it up wrong. Doesn't that look great? So the inside of my bag looks just as good as the outside of the bag, minus all these little threads I got to cut. Fabulous. Okay, put this to the side for now. Our front and the back side of our bag are finished, minus some little bling that I need going on. So now you're going to grab your side pieces, and we pinned these in an earlier lesson. I started to pin them. So this is that 1/4 inch bias tape. You could also use self fabric. So see this piece that I just cut off? just fold it over edge, that would look nice as well. So whatever you decide you want to use is your choice. We'll go ahead and use this. And this is, make sure that your bag, your pieces, if your print is going one direction, make sure you're at the top edge. And you'll just wrap that bias tape around the edge to sew it on. But I'm going to show you a little tip for sewing this on, similar that I did to the pocket. For those of you that are maybe newer to sewing, a foolproof way of covering that top edge. Oh, thanks, Clovis. I know, it does look like one long piece, doesn't it? And, you know, probably you could have just cut a super long piece like that, but all the bags I have seen had a seam at the bottom. I don't know if that mattered or not for strength, but you also have to finish those edges of your, what do you call it? Straps. So it's an easy way to cover up those. So I'm going to start at the wrong side of the fabric this time. Let me just see if I can get you just a little brighter here. Is that a little better? Oh, let there be light. All the cameras were perfect when I started, but it's getting very dark out. I think we're going to get a storm. All right, so open this up. And you have your pressed edges. It's pre-folded bias. And I'm on the wrong side of the fabric to start. Stitch right inside of that pressed crease is where I'm stitching. You could do this from the right side too, but this is just a way that you know your stitching on the right side is going to look perfect. All right, there's my one panel. Go ahead and do the same thing to the other panel. Make sure it's long enough. It wouldn't be the first time I cut it wrong. No, I didn't backstitch on this, not so far. Okay, so now fold this around to the right side. But here's the trick, because there's so much fabric there, when you fold it around, if you don't have enough space, you can trim off just a little bit. So I'll take you to the table and show you this little trick. Because I only have 1/4 inch bias tape. Now, if I had 1/2 inch or something similar to that, then it would flip over with no problem. But this is 1/4 inch and I'm going through all of these layers. So you want to make sure that it lays right. Any questions on my way to the table? Oh, better for the eyes. Yeah, I never even thought about that. Oh, thanks, Diane. Well, yeah, it gives it a little more support, and also you can finish the edges of your straps where they look nice. Yeah. Oh, it's so nice to see all of you. I see the Fashion Sewing Club here. I'll see you at 2 today. So, Deborah, the instructions are in the videos. So you have to go back to part 1 and watch all the videos. It's an entire video sew along. If you go to angelawolf.com, I've listed the fabrics on there as well to make it a little easier for you. Anything else? Okay. Could you, would you, should you? Cindy, I love that. Could you, would you? Isn't there a song about that or a cartoon or something like that? Could you, would you, should you double side tape to hold prior to stitching that bias on? No, I wouldn't. I could, but I shouldn't. It doesn't matter. It's your preference. I'm not going that route because it's just an extra step I don't need to. Why? I guess that would be my question. Why? I didn't even need pins. So as long as you're sewing nice and straight, you don't even need pins. So what I have here is you can see the stitch line. I'm just going to trim off just a little bit, just a hair closer to the stitch line. Because this fabric is pretty darn thick, see if I can open this up. I don't want to accidentally cut the bias, the finish bias. That looks nice. Yes, you could use a rotary cutter on this too, if you want. All right, and then this one, let's trim off a little here. Now, the 1/4 inch bias tape is the only thing I could find in the color I wanted. So if you're just starting this, you're like, you know what, I don't want to have to go through all those efforts of trimming and stuff. Well, then get 1/2 inch or use your self fabric. You could just use this and fold this over with the same process. Okay. Now back to the machine. We're going to sew this. Keep your questions rolling in. Our hour is just about up, and I will be with you again on Thursday live, sewing our bag together and adding trim. So now you're folding this to the right side of the bag. See how good I can do stitching this from the side of the machine. You could use a decorative stitch here. You could use a zigzag stitch. Remember, I used a zigzag stitch on the pocket. And I'm just folding this again to the right side. Look at how nice that looks. I'll put it under here. Can you see it better? So now I have a nice stitch line here, and on the back side, the stitch line is almost like a stitch in the ditch. All right, and then the other one. So some of you had asked me last week, you said that you were trying to leave comments on the blog. I did fix that. So feel free, if you go to angelawolf.com, you can leave comments. If you're making this, make sure you can even add photos right on the Brother Facebook page here, right underneath the post of your fabric if you want. I went back and saw a lot of those. Those were so cute. All right. I'm kind of stitching half over the camera. So if I missed that edge, I'll stitch again. But a little, I just missed a smidge. Is it stuck? I'll do a second row of stitching so it doesn't look crooked, but there you go. I'll just fix it right now. It'll blend in. There's so much going on. If somebody notices that, no, if it was a garment, I would rip it out, but it's a bag. Okay. So you'll cut your threads, give it a good pressing, and let's go back to the table one more time because I do have a to-do list for you before Thursday if you're sewing along. All right, give this a nice pressing. Cut out the edges of the bias so it matches. And here. Okay. So your next job, before we meet again, first thing you'll do is take your side, fold it in half, and mark in chalk on both sides your half mark. I don't usually use snips for this one just because I don't want to accidentally cut the fabric too far. And then here's my other side panel at the bottom, fold it in half. Now, do you know what these marks are going to line up with? I'll give you a really big hint here. So here's my big long piece, and here's my side panel. So on one of these sides, right at the center back, now this is going to go through a lot of layers of fabric. So if you haven't switched to a denim G needle, you will need to. So with the right sides together, the outsides, this mark that I have here, put it right on that bottom center of your bottom. And on here, you will stitch from here to here. And if you need to mark your 1/2 inch seam allowance, which is right here and right here. Now we'll start stitching this on Thursday, but that's going to be our next step. We're going to put together this entire bag. And it's pretty fun and it's easy to do. All right, so get your straps done, get your pockets done, get your side panels ready, and mark your center markings and your seam allowance. And that's it for today. So I will check in with you throughout tomorrow and see what else you have. If you have any questions for me, if you're sharing the fabric you're using, make sure you share it so we can see that. Anything else? Cindy, the zipper goes on very last. It's the absolute last thing that goes on. Yeah. So the next step will be sewing the bag together. And then we have to add bias binding to the outside of that. And you're actually sewing the bag towards the outside of the bag, not the inside. All right, any other questions? Hey, Megala, if you go back and start at the first of these episodes, then it gives you all the measurements for the finished bag and all the measurements for the fabric. Hopefully that helps. Linda, you're waiting for your zipper. Yeah. Or the zipper is actually going to be sewn on at the very end, So I know there's a quick delay. I'll wait just a moment just to see if you have any questions for me. Hey, Clovis, are you sending rain my way? Is that what you're saying? Because I always get it right after you. Any last minute questions? Amanda, do you put the bias tape on the top and back also? No, just on the sides. We'll be doing that on the front and the back when we attach the zipper in the very last lesson. Good question. Good question. Oh, Miguel, have you seen Magali? Have you seen the actual finished bag? Hold on, I'll grab it for you because in case you missed the finished bag, it ends up looking like this. And you can see the long zipper, which I usually hide it on the inside. And that will be the last step that we do. So our next step is going to be sewing the bag together and adding the bias tape to the outside. Now, if you don't have enough fabric to cut bias, which I did not, I used fabric just cut on the straighter grain and it worked great. So I'll give you tips for that as well. All right, so that's your plan for what you need to do before Thursday. Okay, Joanna, start and stop, fold up and stitch the sides. I don't know what you're talking about, but we're not going to stitch those until Thursday anyways. So maybe on Thursday, I'll be able to answer that. Oh, awesome. You're welcome. And thanks for watching, guys. All right, so your schedule is Fashion Sewing Club. I will see you today at 2. Tomorrow on my live show at 1:30, I have a couple special guests from the studio last week, and I think we should cut these sleeves up. I'm going to refashion my top. So I'm going to take the embroidery off, which of course I did on a Brother machine, and give you some ideas for that. and you'll get to see what the girls made last week, the beautiful jackets. That's at 1:30 tomorrow, all Eastern, and at noon on Thursday, we'll be sewing the bag. All right, everyone. Thanks for watching. Brother, thanks for letting me take over your page. I'm just going to put up here real quick, if you're looking for the blog or Brother's blog, go to brothersews.com. They have a ton of great stuff on there. You can also go to angelawolf.com, where I have all of these replays. And also be sure to use hashtag brothersews.com, because they love to see what you're working on. And also, if you're watching the replay, leave your comments, because Brother will see that too. All right, everyone. Till next time, happy sewing.